Hey, buddy, watch this.
Hello, hello, Regis Kelvin is the name, and Heroes of the Storm is the game, and these are my first impressions of the brand new hero, Tracer. I haven't actually played her at all, I haven't even used her basic abilities, so you're right here with me as we learn to play her. I'm hoping that we can learn how to use these abilities, take a look at her talents, and kind of determine some overall general strategy about how to play Tracer and how to best utilize her. So let's go ahead and jump right in and look at her trait to start. Tracer's trait is called a Reload with a 1-second cooldown. You can basic attack while moving, and after attacking 10 times, you need to reload essentially your ammo, which you'll see here, which is 20 out of 20. And you can manually reload early by activating reload at any time with a 1-second cooldown. So I guess once we lock onto our target, yeah, see, we could just move around. When we run out of our clip, the game will automatically reload for us. If we move out of range, it's canceled, but as soon as we move back in range, it looks like it starts again. So you don't have to retarget when you move back in range. It's really handy. That's pretty nice quality of life change. So this feels smoother than I thought. It's a lot like Tychus's Overpower, but actually feels even better. So we can reload early, as it mentioned. You might be wondering, why would you ever want to do that? It's so that you're not stuck on a reload right in the middle of an important burst damage moment, and essentially you can kind of queue up a full clip right when you need it. So if somebody moves out of range, you can reload even if you're half, so when they come back in range, you're ready with that full clip. So that's actually a pretty important distinction, being able to reload at the right moments. If you always wait on that automatic reload, you will leave yourself with some leftover damage that you miss out on. Also, we'll note that her auto attacks were hitting for 63 really rapidly. Whereas another hero might hit for 400 damage at this point. She's basically shooting for 63 times 20 in a single clip, which 63 times 10 would be about 630. So she's doing 1,260 damage per clip at level 20. And it feels like the speed at which she's attacking is really pretty equivalent to maybe a couple auto attacks from another hero, so I do feel like there's plenty of damage coming out of that auto attack from Tracer, so excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. I think she'll be able to pump out a fair amount of damage just based on those auto attacks, but let's see what else her kit has to offer. So her Q is called Blink with a charge cooldown of 6 seconds, and you can store up to 3 charges. So we'll see the range there on Blink. That looks pretty similar to Li Ming's teleport range to me, and she can do it in any direction. And it looks like after she finishes blinking, she just runs a little bit. So most of the distance she travels, we'll go ahead and toggle cooldowns. Let's watch the cursor and see if she teleports to the cursor. She does. She teleports to the cursor and then takes a few steps forward, so it continues her momentum. So as far as moving skill shots is concerned, she starts moving right away, so you can continue her movement as you're blinking or after you're blinking. So you kind of hold down right click and blink in multiple directions. This is a lot of fun, by the way. So that's a pretty cool ability. Great for avoiding skill shots, great for chasing people down if they try to leave your range. Great for just becoming unpredictable and hard to follow. I can see that used in a lot of different ways. And you can blink 3 times in a row if you need to move really rapidly. Just be careful with your camera and your cursor to make sure you go the right direction. And those have a 6-second cooldown, so it does take a little bit of time to get all 3 back. So you can't just use them like crazy, but not too bad. So let's go ahead and take a look at her W. It's called Melee, the most boring name ever. So it's a damage attack that does 557 damage to a nearby enemy prioritizing heroes, and you gain Pulse Bomb Charge when damaging an enemy, and 10% Pulse Bomb Charge when you're damaging a hero specifically, so not just a minion or a mercenary. And of course, Pulse Bomb is here. This is your heroic you get from level 1, actually. You don't have to purchase this heroic, you only have 1 heroic ability. And if we go ahead and use that, we'll see that there's actually a charge meter. So attacking will increase this charge meter a little bit at a time. You'll see each clip is worth, I guess, 10% or so. But also our W will jump it up quite a bit, as you notice. So we can charge it real fast by spamming W here. But the W range, if you look, is pretty close to Tracer. You'll see the circle here. Let me zoom in. So you really do have to run in to use that melee ability. It's a nice little damage burst. It's, you know, it's more than like a Butcher auto attack at level 20. So definitely nothing to scoff at, particularly with an 8-second cooldown. You can use this relatively often. You know, the ability to blink around, right? Like, you're probably not going to be in too much trouble. You can blink in like I just did and blink back out. And so just dump on some damage and, of course, increase your Pulse Bomb charge rate, which is always nice because that is a big ability that hits for 1224. So that's actually pretty brutal damage. So being able to utilize that melee will be important to get more heroics out and just for the damage itself. Alright, and then finally for the other basic ability we have Recall. This is a 24-second cooldown ability. That's actually a really long cooldown. It's one of the longest basic ability cooldowns in the game, in fact, I would say. So Recall allows you to return to the position you were at 3 seconds ago, refill your ammo, and remove all negative status effects from yourself. So much like in Overwatch, let's say we're standing here. So let's start the timer and we'll count to about 3, right? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and we E, and we didn't quite make it all the way back. So I guess our count was a little long, but you can see we teleported from over here to over here. Apparently that will also drop things like dots and slows and roots. So using this basically gives you kind of a free pass to get away from trouble. If that was the distance in about 3 seconds from here to somewhere around here, right? But you can also recall after blinking 3 times. So you can blink, 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 run, and then recall all the way back to your starting position. So you can see how much ground I covered basically from here to somewhere around here, which is pretty big if you find yourself in trouble. So you can make really big commitments like jump behind a tower, for instance, or jump into a tower, and then recall out to safety without getting yourself killed. I will note, though, it looks to me like recall does move your camera, centers it back on where you were. I don't really like that so much. I play with an unlocked camera. I always have a way to center myself if I want to, so I don't really feel like that needs to be a component of recall. I might like to see what's happening here after I recall out, right? I don't want to go back here necessarily if there's action over here. So I wouldn't mind if Blizzard changed that, but all in all, still a pretty nifty ability. In fact, a very, very powerful ability just to get out of jail free card in a way. So let's go ahead and charge up our Pulse Bomb. Even though we have cooldowns on, apparently we still have to charge Pulse Bomb. We'll melee a little bit. Okay, so Pulse Bomb, as we read, fires a short-range bomb that will stick to an enemy if you hit them, and I've heard that it puts like a big stuck message on the enemy screen that's kind of annoying and hard to deal with, so that's kind of a passive benefit of Pulse Bomb. The bomb explodes after 1.5 seconds, dealing 1200 damage at level 20, which that's significant. That's very powerful. So that's to the target that it hits. If it sticks, and if not, it does 612 damage to anyone else. So if you don't stick somebody, it's still going to do AoE damage. Let's we should have hit the target. I'm here to test that. Let's build up our ultimate again. So first we're going to stick the target dummy. Yeah, we saw the big number pop up there. So now let's try it where it's on the ground next to the target dummy. Make sure it hits for 612 based on the description. So we'll throw it here. Yeah, it's hard to see there, but it definitely said 600. So, alright, that's how that operates. It doesn't have any status effects or anything, so it's purely damage. But as you can see, that's going to be up pretty often, just based on the constant auto attacks the Tracer can offer. So, that's a pretty interesting heroic. I like the burst damage potential, but I will say that Tracer's kit lacks any utility in her basic abilities, so no slows, no crowd control of any kind, no knockbacks even, no disrupts. all just damage in her own positioning and escape. So I think the numbers are there for her to have good damage, but I'm worried that she can't make big plays or shut up teammates. She can only operate within herself. Certainly going to be probably hard to kill and can chase people down very well, but I don't know that she's going to be a perfect fit in a lot of team compositions. But let's go ahead and look at her talents, because that may be wrong. She may have talents that increase the power of these basic abilities somewhat. So up first at level 1 with Pulse Strike, increase Melee's Pulse Bomb charge from 10% to 15% against heroes. So remember, this gives 5% against normal enemies, 10% against heroes, and apparently 15% against heroes with this upgrade. I don't think that sounds that good. That's the difference. Every 8 seconds you gain another 5%. So to gain a full ultimate charge, you'd basically have to use melee 20 times to gain a charge, which doesn't seem all that worth it. I think melee won't be hard to hit. You'll be able to run in and pop people with melee and blink back out. That's fine. I think as a mechanic that's okay, but I just don't know that that's going to add up quick enough to make it worth it. But let's look and see what else we've got. Slipstream is the next talent. Reduces recall's cooldown by 4 seconds and increases the amount of time recalled by 1 second. I actually think that sounds a little stronger. 24-second cooldown, as I mentioned, is just absurdly long. I'm having trouble with the camera today. Sorry about that. 20 seconds is a little bit more manageable because you never know when that 4 seconds might mean the difference between life or death when you absolutely need that recall, maybe twice in a long fight, for instance. Plus, the amount of time you recall backwards can also make a big difference, but not necessarily in a good way all the time, I suppose. Learning how long 3 seconds is and kind of where you're going to recall is going to be a very high skill cap challenge for people who play Tracer well. If they pick this all the time, they'll be able to consistently predict 4 seconds, but it could throw people off if it's not a consistent talent choice. Obviously, that allows you to cover more ground with recall, but in the middle of a fight, you might accidentally recall farther back when you were in more trouble than you're in now, and there's all kinds of different issues with that. But all in all, if you learn how to play with this, it feels like it could be pretty strong. There's also Tracer Rounds. That's a good name. Your basic attacks reveal enemies for 4 seconds. That might actually be surprisingly sneaky good for a talent, just because she's going to be very good at chasing people down, just because she can attack on the move. You don't have to stutter step ever at all. And against stealthies, this will keep them unstealthed or help you attack them to keep them unstealthed. People running through the fog to get away or hide in a bush, this will prevent that, so you can chase them down even better. This is probably a sneaky good talent that might end up being the choice for me. Depending on how reliable I think these other two end up in actual play scenarios. So keep Tracer Rounds in mind. I like the potential of this. It kind of reminds me of Lunara's early talent that reveals enemies as well. So that's pretty intriguing. Let's look at the level 4 talents next, starting with Parting Gift. Recall leaves behind 3 bombs that deal 526 damage each to different targets. Okay, so I want to see that one in action. Let's actually select that. All right, we're moving around. We're recalling. I guess they don't leave bombs on the ground. Perhaps it leaves bombs only if it hits a target. Let's see. So we're going to move back here. We're going to recall. I did that wrong again. So we're here, and then we run over here. Nope, I keep doing it wrong. I'm really bad. So we're over here, we run up here, and we recall. Ah, there it is. Okay, I see. The bombs bounce out. One hit this guy, but the other 2 missed. So it does seem like they have to make impact for the target immediately in order to count. That might be good, though, because you could basically run into a team fight right in the middle of a few guys, hit recall to back yourself out, drop some bombs that hit pretty substantially. 500 damage is not nothing at level 20, so if you could ping for 1500 if all 3 hit, that's a nice little bonus. But again, the cooldown's pretty long, so Not totally sure that's going to make big impacts in fights, but it is a nice bonus to an ability you're probably going to want to use anyway, because you're going to jump into melee and pulse bomb, because those are very short range abilities anyway. You can also drop some bombs on the way back out. I don't see how it would hurt. So you're kind of like a mega poker. It's almost like a Zeratul wormhole style play where you blink in, you cleave, you throw your little shuriken bomb thing, and then you back out after you've caused some chaos. Tracer could be very much the same way. But let's see what else she has. Is that a health pack? Increased regeneration globe and healing fountain healing by 100%. At level 7, that just doesn't feel that good to me. That's a point in the game where you're probably going to be very close to roaming around with the healer and the rest of your team, and you'll care a little bit less about that because you have so little health anyway at 2,700. That one heal from a healer, a stray heal, is going to keep you pretty topped off. I just don't think her playstyle is going to benefit from this particular talent. But there's also Untouchable. Takedowns increase your basic attack damage by 2% up to 30%. These bonuses are lost on death. Alright, Untouchable honestly feels pretty good to me. A 30% increase in basic attacks is huge because we're hitting for 63 a pop at level 20, right? So basically increase that by a third. It'll jump up to about 83 damage per shot. And you're shooting 20 times, that's 400 extra damage per clip at level 20, which is a lot. That's very substantial. Also, the way Tracer plays, I feel like you're going to be able to escape death pretty regularly between recall and Q. Even though your health total's low, I still think you can stay out of trouble. So I feel like it won't be that hard to utilize this. Of course, it depends on the teams. If you've got like a double support, double warrior on the other side, you're probably not going to get a lot of kills. So you'll never build these stacks in the first place. So it's definitely a situational talent choice. I'd probably go with Parting Gift in games where I don't foresee a lot of kills, but in deathmatch style games where people are beating each other to death, Untouchable makes a lot of sense to me, particularly with skilled players who can stay alive. Oh, those were level 4 talents. So is that a health pack is a little bit better at level 4, I guess, but still not strong enough to me. I'd easily take the other two. Moving on to level 7, these look like they're all going to be Blink upgrades. So increase Blink's charges by 1. Okay, that's objectively pretty cool. 4 is better than 3. It's a very powerful ability, it seems like. Bullet time. In basic attacks, lower the cooldown of Blink by 0.1 seconds. Okay, so cooldown is 6 seconds. And you attack 20 times per clip. So it's going to reduce the cooldown by 2 seconds per clip. So let's blink out and attack. First we'll select the talent. Turn cooldowns off. We'll blink out. We'll attack and watch the. It definitely makes a difference. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It doesn't feel that powerful, right? It just didn't feel like. It didn't feel like the cooldowns were chunking away. And it also just didn't feel like you might need that many blinks that quickly. So I'm not sure how I feel about bullet time. There's also Spatial Echo. Using Recall grants 2 charges of blink. I think Recall is so substantial that you might not need the blinks anyway, but there is a world where you blink in 3 times, you recall, and then you're out of blinks, so you can't blink back out, right? So depending on the playstyle you adopt, this might make sense, because recalling would allow you to blink twice more after the fact, right? So that might be good, actually, in very skilled players, but I think Jumper is probably just the most reliable and consistent of all of these talents. I feel like Jumper's where I would lean at the very least. But let's move on to level 10. I can click it. So these are all upgrades to our heroic ability Pulse Bomb, starting with Sticky Bomb. Increase Pulse Bomb's radius by 50%, and enemies hit are slowed by 60% for 3 seconds. Alright, I definitely like I definitely like slows. So let's look at the radius of this beforehand. So, pretty solid circle. Now let's recharge our... heroic. I really wish cooldowns worked on this. We'll buy Sticky Bomb, and now we'll check out the circle in the same spot. Oh, definitely big. Oh crap, that's actually a pretty big radius. That's gonna be hard for people to avoid. It kind of reminded me of a Nova Precision Strike radius. So you could jump in and drop it right at your feet, right? And essentially cast Precision Strike on some people, but also a very big slow is attached to it. So Sticky Bomb looks good. A 60% slow is really nice. Good in team fights. Quantum Spike, on the other hand, Pulse Bomb deals an additional 10% of the primary target's maximum health. So this is basically, if you're playing a Cho'Gall, if you're playing like a Diablo, big stitches with a lot of health. Quantum Spike allows you to punish that by sticking them with the bomb. So it hit for 1224 plus probably like another 700 against a 7,000 health hero. So you could hit a Cho'Gall for 2,000 plus damage with Pulse Bomb, which is pretty good actually. It's significant, but I still don't think that surpasses the utility of Sticky Bomb even against a Cho'Gall. So I think I'll still lean to Sticky Bomb. There's also Pulse Round. Increase Pulse Bomb's range and charge rate from basic attacks against heroes by 50%. It's nice to get more Pulse Bombs, obviously, but I feel like increasing the utility and the size of the radius from Sticky Bomb is still going to outweigh these other two. That just seems really good to me. Because the circle is otherwise kind of small. The damage is substantial, but not like game-winning or fight-winning even. So having more Pulse Bombs feels good, but without the effects of Sticky Bomb. You could combine these two together, obviously it'd be amazing, but Sticky Bomb in and of itself feels awesome. So let's move on to level 13. Up first is Bullet Spray. Increases melee's radius by 50% and causes it to damage all enemies in range. Okay, so let's take a look at the circle. Remember, it's about that size. We'll buy Bullet Spray, and the circle is definitely bigger. Oh, that's cool. It looks awesome too. She jumps up and spins instead of meleeing. So that might be worth it right there alone. But also, having it do AoE damage is pretty awesome. It kind of reminds me of Calamity from Li Ming, where she teleports and does damage in the radius. But it seems like the radius is even bigger, and the damage is significant at 557 at level 20. So again, you can kind of blink in, unload a ton of stuff on people, and then blink back out, including a Bullet Spray and Recall Bombs, and even a Pulse Bomb. So I like that a lot. There's also Ricochet. Your basic attacks have a 50% chance to hit another nearby hero, prioritizing heroes. That's actually pretty cool. I don't know what nearby means. It's going to be hard to test here. If nearby is, you know, standard melee range, it's not going to mean much. But if it's, you know, from here to here, perhaps that could be valuable. I don't know. Ricochet's decent, I think. It may end up working out to a lot of DPS in the right scenario, especially if they have like multiple melee heroes that you have to hit. But I still think Bullet Spray is pretty intriguing for high-skilled players. There's also Leeching Rounds. Your basic attacks against heroes heal you for 20% of their damage dealt. I never really like Lifesteal on Assassins and Heroes of the Storm. I don't think it's very good in general. You're just giving up too much damage. You'd rather kill them than heal yourself. So I don't think Leeching Rounds is going to be the choice for Tracer, particularly an organized player. You've already got supports that can keep her minimal health pool topped off relatively easily and efficiently. Moving on to level 16, there's Sleight of Hand. Reduces reload time by 50%. This equals 20% more damage per second. So, alright, that's an awkward way to say a 20% damage buff. But a 20% attack speed or attack damage buff is actually really substantial and nothing to scoff at ever. So 20% DPS increase is great. It's going to take some good talents to surpass that, actually. That's just a raw damage output increase, and a lot of her damage is clearly going to come from auto attacks. If an entire ammo magazine is unloaded on an enemy, the last bullet will deal 191 bonus damage. This is equal to 30% of the total magazine. So this is essentially a 30% damage increase if you stick on an entire target for the whole magazine. Which seems like it would happen relatively often. I don't know how often you're going to be switching targets when you're trying to lock onto somebody and you're able to move so easily and aren't required to stutter step at all to keep up with the target. So that's pretty cool. I think that's good too. There's also locked and loaded. Reactivate reload within the last half of its cast time to increase your basic attack damage by 35% for that magazine. Okay, so I have to see this in action. I didn't exactly understand that wording. Reactivate reload within the last 50... Oh, I see. Okay, so here's the reload bar, right? There's a marker to denote 50%. If I hit the button while it's in that, it'll glow and my damage will increase. Okay. Oh, I missed it there. I got it here. Wow, this is cool. Okay, this is actually a really fun talent. And I love the way the talents in this tier are structured. So basically, Sleight of Hand gives you a 20% increase. That's very low skill. It just does it for you. Focus Fire gives you a 30% increase, and it's kind of moderate skill. Like, you have to stick to a target. You can't be bouncing around. You have to be consistent. And Locked and Loaded gives you a 35% increase, as long as you're very high skilled and very aware, and you constantly hit your D button while you're reloading. So you have to manually hit D while it's in that blue bar. So I missed it. I hit too early, right? So while you're in the middle of the fight, you're balancing AoE damage. You're doing all this other stuff. You're queuing around, you're watching all this, you have to hit D every time. If you do that, in this talent tier, this is the maximum damage talent. If you're not able to do that, then Focus Fire or Sleight of Hand might be better for you. So this rewards really high skilled players, and I think Tracer's Kit in general, of course, is going to reward really high skilled players too, but that's a very fun talent. A lot of people are going to pick that and actually lose damage because they're not good enough at it. They'd be better off with Sleight of Hand. But people who pay attention and learn Tracer and develop an instinct for that, that's just kind of second nature, will be fantastic and get tons of bonus damage. So that's a great, really well-designed talent. Moving on to level 20, the final talent tier here for Tracer. Get Stuffed. This reduces melee's cooldown by 3 seconds. And remember, it is an 8-second cooldown. Hitting an enemy with melee who is stuck with a pulse bomb causes the bomb to instantly explode and knocks the target away from you. So we can actually probably test this. We can stick the... We'll stick the dummy. We'll melee. Did I do that right? I didn't feel like there was knockback effects, but I'm not sure there ever is on the dummy. Maybe we'll try it on the... We'll try it on the Siege Giant here. Oh yeah, so knockback. Okay. That's another talent that rewards like diving in and unloading all your stuff simultaneously and making a big play. I don't know that the knockback is really all that valuable though. If you're very, very good, perhaps you could get on the other side with some blinks and stick them and melee them and push them back towards your allies and then recall back to where you were. But that's going to require a lot of skill. So again, rewarding high-skilled plays. I like the potential of that, but it doesn't actually give you any extra damage other than reducing melee's cooldown. Which, don't get me wrong, is very significant, particularly when melee's cooldown being shorter also increases the likelihood that you can get heroics off more quickly. So maybe that's actually pretty sneaky good just because of that cooldown reduction. There's also Total Recall. Recall also heals you equal to the amount of health you lost during that time. So that's something that happens with Tracer in Overwatch. Whenever you recall, she gains the health that she had before your recall. So this just adds that back into her kit. Definitely if you're diving into the enemy team and you're taking a ton of damage when you do that and then you recall back out. See, I still have that damage. This will heal me to full. It could be worth it, but I have a feeling that you're either going to survive from your recall or you're going to get stun locked and die no matter what. And again, in an organized team with healers and the stuff you need to stay alive, I don't think you'll need total recall. If you're like in a quick match setting and you need some sustain, perhaps it'll be good, but at level 20, usually fights are so decisive and stuns are so prevalent and damage is so strong that I don't even know if that'll make a difference. You might just be dead anyway. So let's look at Composition B. If you successfully stick a Pulse Bomb to an enemy hero, you also drop another one at their feet that deals 50% damage and explodes slightly earlier. Okay, that's decent. But I still think it's mostly going to be single target damage. So, in other words, if you stick somebody, they're going to try to isolate themselves before it explodes, so they're going to drop another one at their feet, and people are going to run away. They're going to run away. I doubt that second one will end up hitting secondary targets, so it's really just probably going to hit the same person that you hit the first Pulse Bomb with. If it hit multiple people, it's definitely going to be worth more, but 50% damage isn't all that helpful when it's got high damage, but not crazy damage. So I feel like this one's just going to be awkward to pull off and play around. And I think Get Stuffed is probably better just because melee's cooldown is reduced. But this may give you more overall damage in a burst setting. So really good players that want to get a lot of sticky bombs out too could use Composition B. But I still think Get Stuffed is going to give you more sticky bombs because you're going to be meleeing more often and charging your heroic even faster. So it probably does the same thing and has some secondary benefits with the crowd control. So basically I'm trying to add a slow and a knockback in a Tracer's kit because I don't think she has any utility, as I mentioned before. So having those definitely helps. So all in all, I think I like probably Slipstream at level 1. Untouchable at level 3, but also Parting Gift feels very good to me. At level 7, I actually like Jumper the best as opposed to these. Sticky Bomb for sure. Bullet Spray feels awesome, but Ricochet also looks like it could be a solid talent. All three of these are decent depending upon the composition you're playing against and your skill level. If you're not confident in your skills, Sleight of Hand is great and reliable and still does work. Focus Fire is good against like tank teams or targets that are easy to hit. Locked and Loaded, of course, is the max damage for the best players. So if you're very good mechanically, Locked and Loaded is for you. Then finally, level 20, I think Get Stuffed is great. I think Total Recall is probably the weakest of all three talents. A Composition B definitely has some potential too. So just depends again on your own preferences. But I'm going to stick with Get Stuffed for right now, just because I think it synergizes really well with my Bullet Spray and Sticky Bomb too, just because I get more sticky bombs out that way. So that's my thoughts on Tracer. I think in general she's got the numbers. She definitely has the playstyle that's unique given her ability to constantly move while firing, so she can chase people down and stay in a fight really well. I like the fact that she doesn't have mana. It's just her reload mechanic, so really very little sustain considerations for her. She can stay in the fight forever as long as she has a healer next to her. She's great at poke damage because she can blink in, do a lot of work with both her auto attacks, but also the few AoEs from melee and Pulse Bomb and the grenades we get at level 4 with Parting Gift, and then just recall right back out, much like a Zeratul. So very interesting poke and burst potential, as well as a nice sustain auto attack damage kit. So all in all, a very interesting hero that I think is going to reward skilled, confident, and mechanically gifted players and be a challenge, but still okay for the rest of us. So that'll wrap it up for Tracer. If you have any questions or comments on this hero, I'd be happy that you'd share them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think and your results with Tracer so far, and I can't wait to actually get this hero out into some action and play her myself and hopefully come up with a build or two that I think that works well for Tracer. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.